Welcome back, everybody. I'll first give a little Dhamma talk, and then we do another short meditation. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay. Well, there's something I didn't tell you about the Vassa yet. The Vassa, so the rain time, after which we have the Kathina. And that's the monastics do something else after the Vassa, and that's that they come together and they in a group, and they tell each other anything they have seen, heard, or suspected that other person has done wrong, or has actually, especially with the breaking of the rules of the monastic rules. But that's not like fault finding and blaming or judging. It's actually a very beautiful ceremony. And what it's about is these rules, that the monastic rules, they're not actually like hard and fast laws as we know the law in our countries, but they're the guidelines for practice. So they're there to help people to practice deeper and to see where it is that their mind might be distracted, or for instance, one rule I once broke. I mean, it's normal to break rules. Actually, I was told when I started, like, you're expected that you're going to be breaking rules. If you don't, there's something wrong. So one rule I once broke is that I found it really hard sometimes, and then sometimes you know how your mind sometimes gets a bit depressed, and when things don't always go right. And I was at this time that I was had been watching a little YouTube video, and it wasn't like a documentary or something. Some instruction manual. I still watch those if I have some building work to do, but it was something really about like sensual pleasure. So I felt really guilty about that. So I went to my another nun, and I confessed, and she said like, why did you do that? Like, and I started like explaining, like, yes, that it won't happen again, and I won't do it again. And I said, no. What's inside of you that made you do that, and why did you do that? What's going on inside of you? How does it feel? What is the benefit of doing it? What is it that your mind gets out of it? Try and find out what's underneath. Try and find out the underlying causes and conditions of doing that. And I found it actually really beautiful, because she wasn't blaming me or punishing me or saying, oh, don't do this. But she was like actually being very kind and said, well, this is an opportunity to learn how your mind works, because that's what it's all about. It doesn't matter if you're not harming anybody by watching a YouTube video, but it's about finding out inside of you how these things work, and not about feeling guilty about it or beating yourself up about it or anything like that. And so Ajahn Brahm told me this story some time ago, and I found it really beautiful, so I looked it up. And it's a story that's in the Jatakas. And of course, the Jatakas are mostly pre-Buddhist stories. But they're quite often quoted, and they're in a Buddhist context, and they're also there's quite often there is something in it that is more like a universal truth, a universal. And this one's the Jataka 28, and just like the stories we have in most countries, it's about a talking animal. In this case, a talking bull. this bull lived, and the story starts that it places the story in Taxila. And Taxila is a place in modern-day Pakistan. It was at the time the capital of Gandhara. And that's also how we can sort of see that this is most likely a fairly early story, even though Taxila has existed up to present day. It's a very, very old city of, I think it started about 600 BC. But there's also excavations from before that time, so it's actually a very old city. And so this is like stories from an older civilization. So civilizations all throughout history have made up all kinds of stories to especially to tell children, but also kind of way to educate as well. So this story about the talking bull, and this bull is called Nandi Visala. And Nandi Visala is when he's very, very small bull. He's being brought up by a Brahmin who raises him like his own child, who raises him like with the best rice pudding he gets to eat, and he gets these really lovely things to eat. And for those of you who have been to India, you know that this rice pudding, that's a real delicacy. It's something, it's actually takes a long time to make, and it's like sweet rice it's got cardamom and all kinds of things in it. So it's like the best of the best, and he was giving to this little bull. And the bull grew bigger and stronger. And one day the bull thought like, well, this Brahman's done so much work for me, or so much for me, and I owe him so much. I would like to give something back. And so he went to Brahman and said like, look, I'm very strong. And I'd like to do something back. Could you go to the town and find somebody and bet with them that I can pull 100 loaded carts? So Brahman did as the bull wanted and went to the town, and he found this merchant and he started talking to this merchant and said about how strong bulls could be, and they were sort of bragging to each other, and he was like, well, my bull can pull 100 loaded carts. And the merchant was like, no way, there is no bull that can do anything like that. It just doesn't exist. And the Brahman was like, okay, do you want to bet with me? And he said, okay, we'll bet 1,000. Doesn't say how 1,000 how much actually, but apparently in that day it was a lot of money. And so, okay, so they find 100 carts and load them up. String them all together and get the bull and put the bull at the front, put Nandi Visala at the front. And the Brahmin takes his goat. I think a goat is like a stick that is used to hit animals to make them do things. And he says to the bull, okay, you rascal, you pull this cart. Like he said. And nothing happens. The bull doesn't move. He just stands there. He doesn't even try. So the Brahmin gets a bit worried. So, come on, you stupid animal. And he hits him on the back with the stick. And no, the bull doesn't move. He doesn't want to do anything at all. And the Brahmin gets very desperate at this point and starts shouting and screaming at the bull. And the bull just doesn't move. So he loses 1,000. So he's very upset, and he goes home to bed, and he's very depressed because he's lost a lot of money. And he's like lying there in bed under his blanket, and all of a sudden he hears something, and he hears a little voice. Are you okay? And that's the bull standing next to his bed. What do you mean, am I okay? Of course I'm not okay. You just lost me 1,000. Well, it wasn't my fault, said the bull. What do you mean it wasn't your fault? You didn't move. The bull said, yeah, well, have I ever done anything to hurt you in my life before? He said, no. Then why do you call me a rascal and a stupid bull and all these things? It's your fault that I don't move. Because if you would talk kindly to me, that would be a different matter. So he says, okay, I know something. Go back to that merchant, this time bet him 2,000. The same thing. But please be kind. So the Brahmin goes back to the merchant, and indeed he convinces the merchant to bet another 2,000. Like the merchant was like, oh, this Brahmin's absolutely crazy. He's like, that bull has proven that he can't do it, but okay, all right, easy money. So again, they find the 100 cards, put the bull in the front, and this time the Brahmin doesn't have a stick, and he says, my dear Nandi Visala, you're my good friend. Would you mind pulling these cards for me? And Nandi Visala starts to strain his muscles and starts to pull, but nothing much happens yet. And the Brahmin continues like, dear Nandi Visala, you don't have to. I don't want you to hurt yourself. If you want to, sure, but yeah, it's up to you. And I really love you no matter what. The bull starts to pull harder and harder and harder, and slowly some movement starts, and then the Brahmin continues with his praise of the bull and saying kind words to him, and eventually all the cards start to move, and the Brahmin wins 2,000. So, and the moral of the story is like, if you at least are kind to people, they're much more likely to do something for you than they are than if you're not. So that's also the story that Ajahn Brahm tells at this point in how to approach other people when you're like admonishing them about something they might have done. It's not to do it harshly or with blame or judgment, but just to use kind words and also see the goodness in them and see how wonderful they have done things for you in the past and for the community, and give them a lot of praise as well. Like the example I gave of my own misdemeanor at that time is not with the intention to make another person change their behavior, but with the intention to help another person in order to help them with their practice and with their so they can actually see. If you start telling them, oh, you've done this wrong or you've done that wrong, people start to get defensive, and they're like, okay, I'm not going to do anything anymore. I don't want it. And they don't learn. And they don't learn from it. They don't change their behavior, and they also don't see how it's hurting them as well as other people. So this is, I think, a very beautiful story, even though it's not Buddhist. It is in the Buddhist texts. And you find a lot of these lovely stories in the pre-Buddhist mythology. And I've been studying that for some time in the last year. As some of you know, I've done a thesis on several words in the Vinaya that are prohibiting transgender and intersex people from ordaining. And a lot of that can be traced back to this pre-Buddhist period and misunderstandings of certain words. So you can look at this mythology. It is very rich in all these stories, and to think that this mythology, for some part of it, goes back to a civilization of 11,000 years ago is quite amazing, and how things haven't really changed that much in that there's the same moral understanding of what is a good thing to do, is like kind speech, is like that's 11,000 years old, and it's still the same today, and we all know it, but we find it so hard to do sometimes in practice. So yeah, that's one thing that we do as monastics at the end of the Vassa. And another thing we normally do is to go to various or to leave the monastery. And nowadays, leaving the monastery for one day is usually done. But traditionally, people would go and travel around the country again on foot, quite often barefooted. At least in the Ganges Valley, it was barefooted. And just travel from place to place. And of course, here in the West, that's not so easy because people don't really understand what you're doing. But I did that when I was living in Ananja Vihara in, what was that? 2012, I think. Yeah. And we went on foot, not barefoot. We did have shoes. We went through the south of Germany with 4 of us, 3 nuns and a layperson. And we just we had a sleeping bag with us, but we didn't have money, we didn't have food, and we just traveled around. I saw it at first as like, well, nobody's Buddhist here, nobody understands this. But a lot of people, of course, it had to be explained sometimes of what we're doing. But a lot of people felt very inspired by it. And every day we had plenty of food. Every day we had a place to sleep. And it was just very beautiful. It's just to go without much of a goal of where you're going. It's just walk and see where your food comes from. And just have that complete trust in the goodness of people. It's also something that... when they first started to establish a community in a Thai community or Thai monastic community in England, a lot of people were afraid, well, this is not a Buddhist country. I mean, they're not going to give you any food or anything. This is just not going to work. And Ajahn Chah's response was that like, oh, are there no kind people in England? And of course, that was the point, and it all worked out. And people felt inspired by the Buddhist teachings and wanted to hear more. And in return, they would give food, and it was fine. And right now, that's one of the biggest communities that we have outside of Thailand. Is in England, is in Amaravati. So it's like these are universal laws. Like people are still people after all. Thousands and thousands of years, that hasn't changed. And there is kindness in people. There's also defilements in people, and that's all the same for everybody. And we just, we try to make the best of that. But we can also, with the Buddhist teachings, we can help people to see their own goodness and also to see their defilements. And usually, when people can see the defilements, then when you really see it, you want to give it up. You don't want to deal with that anymore. If you see how the defilements hurt yourself, as well as other people around you, then you don't want to deal with these things anymore and you become a better person. And everybody is looking for that, no matter where you are in the world. And of course, there are a lot of people that are also very misguided. If I now read the newspaper and I hear about Afghanistan and what's happening there, and it's very, very sad to hear that. But on the other hand, these are also people that believe they are doing the right thing, even though from a very misguided perspective, but they believe they're doing the will of God, not quite knowing what God is and what God, that it is not some kind of human being image thing on a cloud somewhere telling us all what to do. But that God is really inside ourselves. It's love, it's compassion, it's caring. That is what real God is. And to just follow that God and listen to your heart and listen what's right. And you know yourself. Deep inside, you know yourself. Deep inside, you know when you're doing something that's maybe not so skillful, that doesn't lead to your own happiness and the happiness of other people. So what we need to do is learn to look inside ourselves. And this was also what this nun was pointing to when I admitted my mistake, is to look inside myself and see what is really going on there. To also take a little bit of distance and see like, okay, this is not me, but there is something in me, a process going on that wants to tell me something. And to stay with that as if you're staying with another suffering human being, who needs your love and kindness, who needs your help, who needs to be heard. And to hold that, and as if it's like a small baby that it needs your help and it needs something, but it finds it hard to find words because maybe it can't talk yet or it hasn't learned to. And it's trying to get your attention somehow by hurting. And by holding that and giving that attention, you can start to feel and understand like what's going on inside yourself. What is it that it needs? What do I need? Or what does this part need inside yourself? One very beautiful example I find, a very beautiful way of explaining it from Thich Nhat Hanh, is that we have basically 3 ways of dealing with difficult emotions and things within ourselves, or anything that comes up within ourselves. The first way is to fall together with it, to become overwhelmed by it. It's like we can't see anything else other than this hurtful feeling inside of self. We can't think of anything else. We're completely overwhelmed by it. The other way is to repress it and say things like, well, I'm a Buddhist. I shouldn't have anger. I shouldn't have these feelings, or these feelings are too painful. I don't have them. I don't look that way. I don't want it. Now, both of these ways just actually make the feelings grow. If you suppress it, you just like it's starting to fester inside, and then at some point it explodes. If you fall together with it, you're also feeding it. It becomes more. So the middle way is to just stay with it, with what Ajahn Brahm calls kindfulness. This loving kindness and compassion and mindfulness, and just to be with it as if it's your best friend. So if your best friend knocks at your door and is crying and says like, I need your help, I have your attention, I need to have your help. You don't throw the door in their face and say, oh, I don't have time for you. You invite them in, give them a cup of tea, and you just listen. And don't give them advice, because advice is usually not wanted. But just to listen, then they can also listen to themselves, and then that way come to some conclusion or understanding of what's going on inside themselves. And the same way you do with your own hurtful feelings or difficult feelings or whatever is going on inside yourself. And then you listen and you stay with that, and it tends to slowly fade away. And it's this Pali word viraga. So viraga, nirodha, and afterwards you can let it go, and it's gone. And it's something that's just very. It's a lot of relief comes from that. It's like, oh, I've understood this now. I've understood what's going on inside of myself, and that's the real power of mindfulness as we're learning it. Is to be able to. It's not about being mindful of your feet when you're walking. Of course, that is just a help. That is just a training. That's just a practice. But being mindful of all those feelings that go on inside ourselves and how we can deal with that in a skillful way. That is the real mindfulness, or kindfulness, as Ajahn Brahm calls it. Because mindfulness without caring, without loving kindness, that's not really useful either. This kind of mindfulness, this kindfulness is accepting whatever is there, just accepting it, and not wanting to get rid of it, but to say, okay, this is here right now, and that's okay. What Ajahn Brahm also calls it, make peace, be kind, be gentle. Make peace, be kind, be gentle with whatever arises. That's a practice that I found incredibly helpful in my. I started practicing meditation by observing some object, like the breath or sound of silence, and yeah, all these things do something and they're helpful to some extent. But something was always missing, and for me, this was the bit that was missing: is this acknowledgement of what is going on inside, and to be able to stay with that and hold that. And I find it incredibly powerful, and it's changed my life. And I hope that by sharing my experiences in that, it can help you as well. And so I've been talking all day. I'm losing my voice. So I suggest we do a guided meditation out of compassion for my voice, which is telling me to stop talking all the time. And so I would suggest you sit quietly and spend about half an hour in guided meditation. And as usual, we just spend some time to relax, sit comfortably, becoming mindful of our body and how it's sitting. Scan your body to make sure that all parts are relaxed. And pay some special attention to your legs, your back and shoulders. also to the muscles in your face. A lot of muscles in our face. This spend really some time observe each part of your face, your forehead. Bring your mindfulness there, your attention. Just allow all the muscles to relax. And also around the eyes. And around the nose. Around the ears. And around the cheeks. And around the mouth. Really relax all the muscles in your face. And when you're feeling more relaxed, just pay attention to your breath or whatever else is there. You go inside and see how you feel. Are there any emotions? Maybe there's just your breath. Or are there any thoughts? Whatever it is, just be aware of it. Don't feel upset about it. And even if you're upset about it, then just be aware of that. Just remember this is all just a process taking place. There are causes and conditions for everything. And that's okay. Make peace. Be kind. Be gentle. With whatever is happening. Just understand it. Even something as simple as the breath is just a process. All we need to do is just be aware of whatever is happening. And then accept it. Smile at it. Let it know you've seen it. Not about doing something or changing it. It's like sitting at the edge of the forest and seeing the wild animals come out. Not moving, just watching. The more still you can be, the more animals come out. The more you can see. If you're still, you can see the emotions and how they feel on the body. And just accept them just as they are. Just like you would accept an animal coming out of the forest. Just observe it with wonder and awe, no matter what it is. What inside yourself is drawing your attention right now? Just observe in stillness, tranquility, gentleness, peace. Whatever is coming up inside of you, due to causes and conditions, it's trying to help you in some way. Just acknowledge that and thank it for what it wants to show you. It has a gift for you. If only you can listen with kindfulness. And slowly we're coming to the end of the meditation. Let's take a few minutes to reflect back. How did you use your mind? Did you stay with whatever was coming up without judging it? Without wanting to change it? Just to observe it with loving kindness, with curiosity and patience. And finally, we share the merits of our practice. Just quickly scan your body once again to make sure it's relaxed, or that it maybe needs to move a little bit to be more comfortable. All those other people in the world, may they share in the merits that we've made through our practice. Family members and friends, people here on the Sangha and in this hall. Just relax. And allow the compassion to flow from you to all those other people. Further out into the world, to the north, to the west, to the south, and to the east. All beings in all directions. No matter what they are, if we can see them or not, small or big, it doesn't matter. All beings. Also all beings above us, in the sky, or below us, in the earth. May they all share in the merits that we've made through our practice. Also, being in the middle. And say to yourself, may I be happy. May I be happy. May I be happy. I'm going to ring the gong 3 times. At the third time, you can open your eye. Okay, I'll do the closing chant. It's on page 3, but I think you don't need to share it, Lou, because I think everybody knows it by now. Araham Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivareni Swagato Bhagavata Dhammo Nama Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sangha Sangha Namami